You're watching News 24 Live. This morning, the Springbok team to face the Wallabies was announced. I'm joined in studio by Lloyd and Herman from Sport 24. They've been on the Bok beat this past week. They're going to give us their thoughts on this week's team. Gents, good morning. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks.
Lloyd, welcome to the studio.
Thank you.
Right, Herman, I'm going to start with you.
Yes.
Skulkberger, of course, the main change, the only change. What are your thoughts on that? What are the readers thought about starting him ahead of Warren Whiteley? You seem to have a pretty good sort of hit out last weekend.
Yeah, I think Warren had a good Super Rugby. I'm not sure if he had the best game last weekend. I think Skulk was picked probably for his the physical influence that he brings, or the dimension that he adds to the team. I think he's a bit more abrasive, a bit more physical player than Warren. And the Springboks have two fetchers in Marcel Coetzee and Francois Lowe at 6 and 7. And I think Heineke wants Skulk to take that, play that ball carrying role, which I think he would probably do a bit better than what Whiteley would do, especially in a test against the Wallabies, a big test like that. I would say. Lloyd,
do you think leading up to the World Cup we could see quite a few changes in this area of the pack, the back row?
Yeah, I think a lot hinges on how Duane Vermeulen and Willem Alberts kind of recover from their injuries at this stage. It's looking like a long shot to see them getting back into the mix before then. If they don't recover, then I think there's a good chance that this could be the kind of loose forward trio that we see going to the World Cup. I mean, Heineke came out earlier today and said that he actually thinks that number 8 is Skulk's best position, that with age he's kind of developed a whole new skill set that makes him more than simply a fetcher and a big ball carrier, and he's now actually got a lot more to his game. So in that sense, he seems to be the perfect replacement for Duane. And yeah, if Duane and Willem don't recover from those injuries, then I think we're pretty settled in that department now, yeah.
And I mean, you've got Henrik Rousseau also waiting in the wings, with that fetcher sort of role. So it is a lot of depth, as we know, in this area. Let's just also, another area where there does seem to be a lot of depth. I'm not that convinced about this combination yet, Herman. I don't know about you, but in the midfield, Damien Dalende, okay, I think he's a sure bet for the World Cup. He's having an amazing year. But Jesse Kriel at 13?
Jesse played really well last week against the World 15. I think obviously he played fullback in Super Rugby for the Bulls, but he's actually, Heineke said last week as well, when he was a junior he played at centre more than he actually did at fullback. I mean, he's a big player, he's fast, he's got the skills, the distribution skills, which is really important for centres, and he can tackle. So I think he's comfortable in the position. He has said it himself as well. So I don't think it's the worst bet, but I think obviously with regards to Jean de Villiers, slowly making his way back now, I think that position that centre role is I think Heineke is still looking at, Damien and possibly Jean for the World Cup, but Jesse would be a good backup. I think he's got what it takes to play at 13.
Lloyd, another area I guess where people have sort of got their own sort of question marks is the halfbacks, so Ruan Pienaar and Henri Pollard. Henri Pollard not having the best game last weekend, but we know what he's capable of. What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, again, kind of hinges on injuries and how Fourie du Preez recovers. I mean, obviously, if we've got a fit Fourie du Preez, then that's kind of everyone's first choice. But in Ruan Pienaar, you've got a guy with a lot of experience, and obviously hasn't played Super Rugby for a while, and that could be a concern. But I think he's got the pedigree, and you certainly see him being the backup to kind of Fourie if Fourie gets fit. And then at fly half, we kind of blessed again. I mean, interesting to see Meyer opting for Mornay staying in the travelling squad again, so he's still in the picture, not in the match day 2022 this week, 23 this week. But, kind of interesting to see him still in the mix. And I think the fly half positions are settled now. I think, we all expect Henri Pollard to start at the World Cup. Not the best game last week, but I mean, he's got the pedigree and the goal kicking you would expect to come right before then. And then Pat, because of his versatility, kind of can play at fly half and at fullback. And you kind of see at this stage, I guess he's going to have to be content with a place on the bench going into the World Cup. Yeah, so I think we're pretty settled at halfback as well.
Herman, looking at the replacements this week, what do you think Meyer's thinking is behind some of the changes? Do you see any areas of weakness?
I would say areas maybe in midfield with I don't see really any midfield reserves on the bench. Ulwazi Mvovo can play centre, but he's more adept at wing or fullback maybe. But there's no other. Pat Lamy can play fullback. He can play fly half. Kobus Reinach is obviously the scrum half reserve. So maybe, if there's an injury in midfield and one of the wingers also get injured, JP Peterson could be shifted to centre. But it could be a potential weakness. But I don't think
he was very quiet last week.
Yeah, he's not on form. But Heineke said during the week that he expects him to regain his form. They're working on his fitness. Don't know why he's unfit though, because he plays the whole year. But so he's expecting him to recover and hit form soon.
Yeah, so I mean these two props this week, obviously Frans Malherbe, Heineke van der Merwe.
Yeah, look, I think Heineke was picked ahead of Trevor Nyakane. I think he brings a bit more experience. He's played in the Northern Hemisphere for a while now. I see he's at Stade Francais in France now, but I mean he's got a lot of experience, and I think Nyakane is probably not totally convinced a lot of people at test level. Probably doubts about his scrummaging and probably about his fitness as well. So I think Heineke probably went for Heineke's experience there, especially with regards to the two props starting. They've also not played the best in Super Rugby this year. Their roles in the starting team is also it's not cast in stone that those two are going to start at the World Cup, I think. But he's got Frans Malherbe as front row cover as well, which is a very good. I think he's the standout prop along with Steven Kitshoff in Super Rugby. So yeah, I think we're pretty much covered there, especially with the two props on the bench, I feel.